Hello and welcome to Blossom Sandwich Sews. My name is Yvette and today I'm bringing you a little bit of a catch-up and also a tour of my sewing space because I thought that would be a good follow-on from my previous video where I showed you all of my fabric and pattern storage. So I am wearing today the Friday Pattern Company Wilder gown in this amazing kind of floral viscose that I bought from the rag shop, which is sadly now closed. But yeah, I really do like this dress. I made the skirt extra wide because I used the whole width of the fabric, so it's really comfy. I'm going to a cake club meetup where everyone brings a cake and we all just sit around and eat cake, so I thought I need to wear something nice and roomy for all that cake. And then in terms of what I've been sewing recently, this is one of my most recent finished projects. So it's just come out the wash and it's linen, so it's very crinkly, so I probably will need to iron it or just embrace the crinkliness. So this is a Sew House 7 Romy gather dress. So it's got raglan sleeves and then a gathered skirt with patch pockets, and I did the pockets on the bias so that they sort of stand out a little bit, and also so that I didn't have to pattern match the squares. So yeah, I was really pleased with how that turned out. I took up the skirt a little bit at the waist so that it would be like a whole square at the top, because there was like a little slither through the middle, which was kind of annoying to me. Yeah, so the process went okay. I had a bit of a mare where I sewed, so because of me being a bit hasty with cutting out, I didn't have quite enough to cut out the back piece on the fold, so I cut it out like in 2 bits and then sewed it together. So and I worked really hard to pattern match the squares as well, so you can sort of see there's a seam up here. But I sewed it once and then I hadn't sewed it with enough seam allowance to be able to fold the raw edges under and stitch them down. So I had to unpick it, and then during that unpicking process I made a hole in the fabric near the seam allowance, which was really annoying. So I kind of darned over it in this orange thread. And luckily it's not too noticeable, and it's also on the inside as well, so this is what it looks like from the outside. You can barely tell, it's just a little bit puckered. So I'm pretty pleased with that, and then from a distance you can't even really tell that there's a seam there. And then for the front, on the Romy, it's the front bodice is cut on the fold, and then there's a little sort of keyhole and a button, but I decided to just cut the front on the fold so that I didn't have to pattern match up the front in case that didn't quite go to plan. So yeah, that is my Romy dress. And on the bank holiday weekend last weekend, I went to visit my family and we went to the sunflower, pick your own sunflower fields. So I'll put in some pictures from there because they had set it up really well and there was loads of like super cute photo opportunities and stuff. So yeah, that's one of my most recent finished makes. So I will get on and start showing you some of my sewing space. So I've got this little sort of corner. I don't know how easy it's going to be to show you. So I've got this like corner desk, which starts here where my overlocker is, and then it comes around the corner. And then I've got my computer over here. So let's start with my overlocker. So my overlocker is a Brother, and it's a very catchily named, so I'll have to read it out, 3034 DWT, and it did come with an extension table, but I don't have space for it, so this is the edge of my cupboard, which appears in the previous video. So I really like this overlocker. I find it very easy to thread. Let me just show you inside. It's probably got a lot of fluff in. So it's kind of each thread is color coded, and then it kind of guides you through. Let's see if we can zoom in. So yeah, I actually never bothered to like do that whole thing where you tie on the threads and pull them through. I just cut them off and re-thread it because it's quite easy to thread. And I don't use tweezers, I just sort of do it with my hands. Yeah, so I'm really pleased with this overlocker. To be honest, I haven't done anything fancy with it. I just use it to like finish the edges, so I kind of leave the settings pretty much alone. And yeah, it works really well for me. And then, oh, here's my rainbow overlocking thread. I've just got it stashed behind at the moment because I used it in my previous project, because I couldn't use this rainbow fabric without having the rainbow seam finish, obviously. So let's zoom back out, move on to my sewing machine. So this is quite a recent acquisition. So I was visiting my husband's family who live in Kent, and they have quite a good sewing machine dealership in Whitstable. So we just sort of popped in. So I had been thinking about getting a new machine for a little while, and I thought it would be good to go in. I've done some research myself online. I thought it would be good to go into the shop and talk to the talk to like the experts basically and see what they thought. And they were very helpful there. So the shop was called Barcham's in Whitstable High Street, and yeah, they were really helpful there. And they also do like machine repairs and servicing as well at the same shop. So I asked them about you know, which machines are the most reliable, and you know, what is the actual difference, because there's quite a big range of price points between different brands, and then even within one brand there's like quite a big range. So I was like, well, what do you actually get for, you know, an extra 300 quid? So this is sort of a mid-range machine. It's the Janome 5060 QDC. So the QDC, I think, is sort of like, it's like a quilting edition. It came with a walking foot, which I haven't tried yet. So yeah, we weren't planning to buy a machine when we went there, but this is like a sort of display model, but never used. And so then that was like at least £100 off as well. So it did work out a really good deal. Yeah, so like I say, this is sort of mid-range machine. It's I'll turn it on. So it's got a little LED sort of screen, and it's got kind of quite a lot of features, like a thread cutter, which wasn't a thing that I was particularly after, but I really like it. It's really satisfying to be done and then just cut it and then just pull your thing straight out. And then it's got 59 different stitches. So basically at the shop, the guy was like, well, you know, you can get a machine that's, you know, £500, and then you can get a machine that's like, you know, £700, whatever, but they're basically the same sort of mechanically. You just get more stitches on the more expensive ones. And personally, mostly what I sew is garments, so all you really need for that is like a straight stitch, maybe a zigzag. This one has got a lightning stitch for knits, which my old basic machine didn't have. So that's quite fun. I have tried that out. And it does like automatic, you know, one-step buttonholes, which I'm going to be trying on my next project. So I'll let you know how that goes. So yeah, it's really good. I'm really pleased with it so far. So yeah, maybe I'll do a more in-depth video about the machine and all the different stuff that it can do if you're interested in that. And then on my machine, it is on top of this mat that I made, which is really handy. I've put like pockets in, so I've got, you know, all the things that you need to keep handy, like seam ripper, snips. I have this sort of whole little thing of these clips, which I really like. So you can just take them off and chuck them straight back in there. yeah, so I can link in the description the tutorial that I used to make this mat. I kind of changed it a little bit just to get the pockets the right size for stuff that I wanted to use for, but yeah, I really like this. That's been quite a good, I just made it as like a scrap busting project. It has got a sort of, I don't know if I can show you, but it's got like a sort of one of those rubbery grippy mats underneath to stop it like sliding about when I'm using the machine. And then in the corner I've got, so this is my husband's guitar, which is on the wall, because this used to be like his corner and we haven't moved it yet. So yeah, that's his guitar. Oh, we've got some also evidence of my husband, some Star Wars prints, but also a lovely sewing print by my friend, like a watercolour. Let's see if we can show you. Here we go. In the middle, just to offset the Star Warsiness. So yeah, there are sort of vague plans to put those over to my husband's new area, but yeah, maybe eventually we'll get around to it. And then on the wall I've got a bunch of like sewing, like the little postcards that you get when you buy fabric. In the middle here, this is my Make 9 grid. I'll try and put in a picture of that, just to remind me of all the projects that I thought would be a good idea to do at the beginning of the year and then haven't got around to it. I've also put on the wall some like button cards. So there's some, you can see some here, the pigeon wishes, here and here. That's surprisingly hard to do, which I think, I don't know if any of this is in focus, by the way, which is good because they're so cute, the buttons, and like the way they do the little cards as well. So I thought I'd put them on the wall just to be able to look at them a bit more. And then let's zoom back out. In the corner here, I've got a little pressing station. So this is like a pressing mat. Let's see if we can move you around a bit. So it's a bit chaotic in this corner because there's a lot of other stuff in, like my diary and everything. But this is like a little pressing mat from Lakeland. And I find it really handy because then I can just zoom from, you know, the machine to the overlocker to the corner to press it without having to, you know, get up to the ironing board and stuff. So I've got this tiny cricket iron, which my husband bought for me. That's really cute. And I use that quite a lot just for like pressing seams and small bits because it's much easier to like maneuver, especially in this small space when it's all like crowded up. But obviously I do have a normal iron as well, which was a wedding present, which I then never used for like 2 years until I started sewing. And then this in the corner here is a little sneak peek of my current project that I'm working on in the purple. So I am doing a collaboration with Michelle from Michelle Sews Again, because she's running this amazing sort of month-long, I don't know, collab season, I guess, for Sew Purple to End ALZ, which is a challenge. I think she started it last year, but this year she's going really all out on it. And she's doing loads and loads of collabs with loads of sewing vloggers. So I'm one of the vloggers that's included. So I think the 15th of September is when my video is due to go up. So I'm still working on my project right now. I know Michelle has already finished hers for the collab with me because she's doing a collab with everyone. So she's got basically a project every single day. So I'll link her channel down below so you can check out the details of the challenge. But it is a challenge that anyone can join in with on Instagram. All you need to do is sew something purple and use the hashtag. So yeah, you'll be hearing more about that from Michelle if you go and check out her channel, and from me on the 15th. So yeah, I'm still sort of in the process of my project, but we'll see how that turns out. And then just behind me, sort of around the corner on the desk, is my computer. So I've got a laptop and then a second screen, so that's quite handy if I'm using like PDF patterns, so I don't tend to get the instructions printed, so I will, you know, just get the instructions up here and then it's sort of right there when I'm doing my sewing, so that is handy. And then my sewing space is like behind the sofa, so sometimes like this I end up with stuff chucked over the back of the sofa, but on the back of the sofa is this quilt, which I'll try and show you. So this is like a sort of hand-pieced hexie quilt that was made by my great-grandmother. So yeah, I've never got the chance to meet her, so it's quite you know, special to have something that she's clearly put so much time into. And the squares are all little, mostly like bits of clothing, so some of them, like this one with the penny farthings on, was a dress that my mum wore when she was like a toddler. So yeah, it's quite sweet and quite colourful. So that is sort of a nice little backdrop to my sewing space. So that's basically my little sewing corner. Apologies if this video has been a bit not very well filmed and the like, just sort of making it up as I go along. So then I'll briefly show you my cupboard where I store everything, but I did do a quite in-depth video about this last week, so I will link to that video if you're interested in getting into the nitty-gritty of how I store all of my stuff. So let's just zoom over on the wheelie chair, try not to run my own feet over. So this is the cupboard, so I've got my fabrics on the top shelf, and let's see if we can get it all in. So fabrics up on the top shelf. I've still got my sewing machine box up there just in case there's any issues with it, 'cause it's quite new. This is kind of my like stuff that needs mending and refashioning and overspill fabric, and then in this pink bag is a bit of knitting stuff as well. So at the moment it's the New Craft House Sew Yourself Sustainable Challenge, so I'm hoping to get through a few of my mending projects as part of my pledge for that. So yeah, I'll put in a picture about that challenge as well, if that's something you'd like to get involved in. And then in the middle here is all my patterns, so they're mostly in these binders. And then at the bottom, I've got these 3 drawers. So this bottom drawer is fabric scraps, in here is patterns, and then here is sort of sewing accessories, buttons, interfacing, all that malarkey. But yeah, if you want to hear more about that, there is a video, as I've mentioned. And then I'll just quickly turn you around so you can see where I cut out. So we have this dining table, which is actually a really nice sort of marble look table, and it is extendable as well. But usually we just have it on the small mode, if that's the right word. And then I've got this A0 cutting mat that I use on top, and then I just cut out my projects with like a rotary cutter. And I've got these that I use as pattern plates, which are these like giant washers. And my dad bought them from me from Screwfix, where he goes quite a lot because he's into you know, DIY and all this sort of stuff. So they were like, what on earth are you making with these giant washers? So yeah, I would recommend them. They're quite cheap and they do the job. So that was my sewing space. Apologies again for the kind of chaotic camera work, but hopefully you get the idea of my little sewing corner. And yeah, let me know if there's anything else that you want to see in more detail. Yeah, as I said before, I've got my collab video coming up with Michelle, so that may well be my next video on the 15th of September, but I will keep you posted. So yeah, happy sewing everyone, and I shall see you around. Bye.